Hey, it's Paul here on YouTube. Today's video is a really short hack for the Zippo windproof lighters that's just going to help you get a more consistent performance from your lighter. Some people say it makes the fuel last longer in the lighter. I don't think it does. You're going to get about 2 weeks roughly per fill in the lighter. The fuel just evaporates and it dries out. It's a completely natural thing with the Zippo lighters, but nonetheless I'm just going to show you this little thing. It gives you slightly more consistent performance, and it's due to the fact that when Zippo kind of send these from the factory, quite often they aren't optimally configured. So this is a little hack that helps with that. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the standard format of the Zippo lighter. Inside here you've got a wick which then goes down into this reservoir here, and inside the reservoir there's some like cotton wool, cotton kind of wadding if you like, and when you put the lighter fluid into the lighter, it's absorbed by the cotton wadding and then is taken up into the wick, up into this part here, because this is where there's more contact with air, and then the flint wheel is lit, the flint connects to the bottom, the flint comes through and it catches, and hey presto, the lighter works. That's how it works. But when these are sent from the factory, sometimes what happens, quite often actually to be honest, is I'm not going to tip it up too much because this has actually got some lighter fluid in. The wick is just put in and then lies on this top part here, so it's kind of in and then squished in at the top, and all that I'm suggesting that you do, as many other people do, use a multi-tool. You unscrew the flint, because this flint is on like a spring here, so you unscrew that screw, take the flint out on the spring. It's a tiny little flint just pushed up against the wheel at the top. Put that to one side. Then you remove the cotton wadding. Just use your multi-tool. Remove the cotton wadding. There's about 4 pieces in the Zippo, so you'll find 4 separate pieces. And then wrap the wick, instead of just pushing it all up here, kind of put it in this kind of S configuration here. And then in between each curve of the wick, just put some more of the wadding back. So you have a piece, the wick, piece of wadding, wick, piece of wadding, wick, piece of wadding. And then put your flint back up into here, tighten this again, make sure it's nice and tight so the flint doesn't slip down, so you get the best performance that way. And then all you need to do, just as you're doing this process, just make sure that the wick has not moved. So if the wick's come too far forward, then just push it back down, or trim it if it needs to be trimmed, if it's not in a good condition. Just trim the wick so that it sits no higher than the windshield here. That's what that's there for, to protect the wick from the wind. And then, as I say, what all you need to do then is just make sure that the wick is sitting centrally in the cavity here. So in this chamber, if the wick is pushed to the side, then it won't really light. So you need to get plenty of air around the wick here so that it can absorb more of the fluid through. Then obviously, before you put this top layer back on, I forgot to mention you obviously need to put your lighter fuel in. So you just pop the lid on this, squirt it in, give it a good liberal soaking underneath there before you put this one on. Don't put the fluid on this. This bit here does not absorb. It's the pieces inside that absorb the lighter fluid. So don't be trying to absorb fluid through there. That's not what that's for. Make sure it's sealed nice and tight. You have to wait a couple of minutes for the fluid to kind of make its way around, and then you are good to go essentially. Now, you don't need me to tell you that you do have to be exceptionally careful whenever you've got an accelerant, a flame accelerant like butane or propane or any lighter fluid or anything like that. You need to be exceptionally careful. So if you're doing this and you're fiddling about with a wick, and then you're kind of getting everything ready, and you know there's lighter fluid gone on the table and bits gone on the case and a bit on your hands, and then you spring this and light it, then you could be in for quite a nasty surprise. So please, 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 before you use the lighter, all you have to do is just wash your hands. Just like that. And then all that I do as well, just get a bit of kitchen roll that's damp, just wipe down the outside of the case, the surface that you've been working on, so there's just no risk. And then you move the fluid away. Never light a lighter while the fuel is still around. Just make sure everything's got good dry, and then you're good to go. A couple of minutes has passed, so the fluid should be well through. We've got a nice little gap there. The wick's not poking out. It's got a nice little clearance. And sure enough, there we go, first time light. And as I say, you will find that the performance of the lighter does improve through this technique. You're not going to get much longer out of the fuel per fill, because that's not the way these lighters work. You'll get about 2 minutes maximum. Sorry, 2 weeks standard use. So, every 2 weeks you're going to need to refill the reservoir in here. Just through evaporation. The fuel evaporates just because the case isn't airtight and things like that. So it's just a little tip though that does make the lighter work more consistently. It is worth checking out. Ideally before you fill the Zippo for the first time, it's best not to be doing it when there's already fuel in it. But as long as you're careful, you can do it at any point. And like I said, just keep an eye on the safety of the fuel so that there's no surplus fuel, there's not fuel all over the place when you go to test your lighter. I certainly wouldn't want to hear of any accidents or incidents. And it is pure and simple as taking the wick, and instead of it just being crammed at the top here and then all the cotton wool underneath, just wrapping the cotton wool around the wick so that it's in more like this S configuration with a piece of cotton wool, a bit of the wick, and there you go. I hope this has been useful. Please do let me know how you get on. I wish you all the very best indeed, and thanks very much for watching today. See you again soon.